Hello, hello, hello. Well, we are live, and thank you so much for being here with us, for those who've already joined us. So, okay, we are going to be talking about hope, the foundation of sustained success. So, I hope you have been diligent and you have followed the instructions that I told you earlier in the intro to go ahead and share, because I have an awesome coach here with me today, and she's going to be dropping a lot of great nuggets for us to be able to take away as well as implement. And as always, we never come on unless we have something to share with you, so you too can then, implement them right away. So I like things that are actionable, that you can literally do something today. In the words of Tony Robbins, right? If I have a goal or if I say something, it is my how should I say? My real intent is shown by the action that I take. So as we go through this, one of the reasons why I've chosen to speak on hope is because of what's going on in our world today, in the sense that from quarantine to social injustice, our world as we know it has changed and will probably never go back to being the same. So for a lot of people, hope is being impacted. And quite frankly, as I think on the top of this live, you will say, without hope, the people perish, right? That is not only biblical, it is real world. We all know if you do not have hope to take that next step, you basically wither away and die. And we don't want you to die. We want you to flourish and be in good health. So who am I? I am Judy Ann Chung. I am your brilliance activator, your confidence leadership coach, life coach, as well as speaker. I help women, everyday women like you and me, to basically rebuild their hope, strengthen their confidence, that allows them to activate their brilliance and soar. And who would not want to soar? Now, to help me here today, I also have the wonderful B Jacqueline Jeter, and she is a transformational growth strategist and encouragement ambassador. I am going to punt it over to B Jacqueline to just say a little bit about herself. Jacqueline?
Hi, and thank you, Judy, for this opportunity to come and share with the audience. Can you okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, great. So a little bit about me is I am an international speaker, international best-selling author. I am a certified leadership coach, trainer, and speaker with the John Maxwell team. But I'm also the CEO and founder of the brand Grow, Lead, and Prosper. And I focus on personal, professional, and spiritual transformational growth with women, empowering them who are ready to pivot. And I say ready to pivot, because if you're not ready, then it's just like throwing seeds on the earth and not doing anything with them. If you're not ready, you got to be engaged. So we're ready to pivot, and they're ready to grow from that point of paralysis of what they do next to a place of power in their mindset and their purpose in their life. And that is so they can actually fully show up and be that influence and impact in the spheres that God created them to be in.
Right. And as you can see, just based on the description that B Jacqueline just gave, why she is the perfect person for me to have on here, wanting to speak about hope, right? Because even what she just shared, you must be ready to pivot. But if you don't have hope, how can you pivot? Right. So basically, we have to get you ready to be able to pivot. Right. So, all right. So, guys, I see some of you have gone ahead and you have shared. And hello. I can already tell today's topic is going to be powerful. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us. And again, go ahead and share. So in the interest of time and it being a lovely Sunday afternoon out, and we want to all go out and enjoy ourselves, I am going to, with no further delay, just dive right in. But one of the things that I also like to do is to define things, right? So we talk about hope. So for some people, it means different things. So just so we can frame it properly, one of the questions I'm going to punt over to you, B Jacqueline, is that how do you define hope?
That's a good question. Hope is one of those words that have different connotations.
Right.
And so I can say, I hope to make it to the Seychelles or the Maldives one day. But if I don't have, that's not the kind of hope I'm going to define. When I look up that kind of hope that is talked about is really that kind of hope that's kind of flaccid and doesn't have really truly any intent. It's really a wish.
Mm-hmm.
And hoping and wishing is two different things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I actually looked at the definition on the internet, and Merriam-Webster defined hope as a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen, or desire accompanied by expectation or belief in fulfillment. I see hope much more than a feeling.
Right.
And the reason why I say that, I feel like it's an intentional decision to
Mm-hmm.
focus, to find the good in any situation. And that may
Right.
seem Pollyanna to someone, but if you think about it, you have to be able to make things happen, make that expectation happen that you
Mm-hmm.
long for. I can hope to lose 20 pounds, but if I don't have any impetus and any planning or execution behind it, it's
Mm-hmm.
again just a wish. So hope
Right.
is an intentional decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's that lifeline and that fuel and that strong mindset that despite what you see, despite the circumstances, despite coronavirus, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to win. I'm going to get and achieve the goal to which that's in my crosshairs. It's the ability to look at a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
adversity, and know that you're going to grasp that brass ring. It is President Obama basically ran his platform on hope.
Right.
And that was not that wishy-washy hope, but he had a plan and a strategy behind that platform. So
Right.
hope really has to have a plan behind it.
Right.
For it to be successful and for it to move you forward and for it to break you out of the mindset that you're in. I think the key thing is it's more than just warm feelings and butterflies. It is having that strategic plan, and hope in itself is a very powerful tool.
Right. And so let me just leverage on some of the things that you just said about, hope without a plan is basically useless. Right. And you mentioned, President Obama running on hope, and he had a strategic plan that was behind it. Right. So one of the crucial things that I just pulled from what you just said was that basically, as you said, hope without an action plan is wishy-washy. But we also have to acknowledge that there are times where people are feeling a little bit down, right? Mm-hmm. And, that's where for those of us who are people of faith, where that also comes in. So even though if I have the hope, if I just have just even a kernel of faith, right, then I will take that first action. And it doesn't have to be a big action. It just has to be a baby step, because you just put one step before each other each time, and you are able to move forward. And before you know it, right, you then roll that into a strategic plan, and you're getting towards your goal quicker than you expected. So I like how you said that in terms of, yes, I have hope, but it needs to be hope with a plan, right? So Deandra just said strategy is so important. Absolutely. Because usually if you don't have a strategy, then you may get to your destination, but you're like the bumblebee. You understand?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not getting there as effectively as you really could, right? So I do like that. So, okay. So then let's just, maybe, the brilliance activator, that my core focus is also on confidence, right? So there's always a correlation of hope, faith, and confidence. Now, some people don't like putting them together, but if you really think about it, right, and you really delve down into what is the definition of confidence, right? Confidence is usually, I have hope or faith, whichever word you want to use, you can interchange them, that I can do whatever it is that I set my mind to, or whatever it is that I set out to do, right? So as you can see, one of the reasons why they are part of the core packaging of what I do, because they're so correlated together, right? So let's just transition now into one of my next questions for you, which is basically say, is there a relationship between somebody's levels of confidence and their ability to transform or to grow? In other words, what you do with your clients.
That was a powerful question. Yes, it most definitely is. So I'm very visual, so I think about examples a lot. And we just lost two major civil rights icons on the same day. Yes. Reverend C.T. Vivian and Congressman, my mind just goes right. Oh gosh, Congressman John Lewis. Sorry. And so when you think about them, they had to have the hope or the faith that their actions were going to change. They had to have the confidence to go and sit at a countertop where whites were only. You had to have the confidence in knowing that their actions were going to bring forth that goal that they had, and that was equality. They were chipping away a little bit at a little time. And so we have to understand that growth doesn't just happen.
Right.
If it did, a mother would never have to have any prenatal care. They get pregnant, and then 9 months later, the baby would come out all perfect. Right. If we didn't have to do any nurturing, we had to do anything like that. And so likewise, our mindsets need nurturing, care, and the right nutrients to transform and to grow. And one of those key vitamins, so to speak, is confidence or faith, not arrogance, confidence. My father used to really just make these bold declarations. And I was like, that is so arrogant. He goes, no, I'm confident. Arrogance, you cannot back up.
I like that. Say it one more time. I love the wisdom of the elderly. Say
I know. I said, my father used to make these bold declarations about things. I mean, it really, he was doing a lot of self-talk about certain things. He was telling me certain stuff. And my parents were older when I was born. I mean, much older when I was born. And so they were pouring all these jewels into me, and I didn't really know it, but thank God he brings them back to my remembrance. But he said one day, he said something, I was like, that's really arrogant. And he's like, no, that's confidence. Arrogance, you can't back up, but confidence, you can.
Right. Absolutely. And that is so true. You can't, confidence, you can always back it up. But as you said, arrogance, you can't back it up. It's almost like you're believing your own, disillusion. So,
right.
Yeah. Right.
And so one of my favorite quotes was actually a quote of my own that says, growth happens within way before it's evidenced without. And so I was reading articles the other day, and they're talking about people with a growth mindset. So you either have a growth mindset or you have a limited mindset. And growth mindset people have been found to possess a higher self-esteem because they understand their value as an individual, and they're not dependent on a snapshot of time. So if I base my value on this snapshot of time of coronavirus, I'd be depressed. And most people are. So the thing about that is to shift that mindset and really renew that mind. And the growth mindset empowers a person to become more resilient against any kind of setbacks or challenges they have, and become more optimistic or have hope and faith about their own abilities and that things are going to change. So when you are confident in who you are, you'll grow. It's a very direct link in that transformation and moving forward. Now, I'm not going to preach, but I could, but I'm not. But in the word of God, it tells us that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So our mind has is shaped by what we hear, what we think about ourselves, and then our actions follow that. Right. And also in Romans 12:2, it says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable, a perfect will of God. So growth is not that one-time thing. Growth is renewing your mind is not that one-time thing, and neither is growth. And so confidence actually is that fuel that kind of keeps you moving forward and knowing that I might not be here this time, but I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and I'm confident in that. So I'm going to get to where I need to be because I have the firepower behind me.
Right. And so I love what you're saying, right? And for those of you who do not know B Jacqueline Jeter, she will always pivot to God, because she what she didn't share with you is that she's also an ordained minister. Am I correct? Right. Yes. So listen, it's in her. It's going to come out somehow. And you know what? It is perfectly fine, right? Because we are not going to hide who we are.
Right.
We are who we are. Right. So, exactly. So that's awesome. Alrighty. So so Kimberly is saying, yes, Jackie, break it down. Okay, right. Oh, she sure did, right? She sure did. Okay. And then Deandra is saying, renew your mind daily. So you know what? I want to stay a little bit on that mind. And this wasn't part of our questions, but that's what I love about the dynamics of our lovely audience, right? They will sometimes pivot, since we're using that word, to other directions that are actually quite key and relevant, right? So we spoke about mindset. So I'm very big on mindset. And I have become even more so big on mindset within the last few months because of, the challenges that are even occurring in my own life from a personal point of view. So one of the things, the way God is good, is that here it is, I'm rolling out new coaching problems. Well, no, I saw the problem, and I'm rolling out a new coaching course, if I can say that without a tongue twister, right? So, but the awesome thing about God is that sometimes he allows us to go through things so that we can even become more authentic in how
Right.
we're coaching people and the programs that we're developing. Yes, we'll study and we'll have the academia behind it, but we'll also have the real world experiences to back it up, right? Because in my own personal life, with my own personal journey that I'm going through right now, right? And I'm not out of it yet. But what I've had to do was to work extremely hard on my mindset, to make sure I don't lull into depression, to make sure Corona and quarantine doesn't have me, on top of everything else, being, in a fetal position in a mental hospital somewhere, right? I've had to really pull into that hope. I've had to really work on my mindset. So when you just said about renewing on your mindset has to be something really key, that's one of the reasons I really want to tap into that, because sometimes I don't believe that we take very seriously the messaging that we tell ourselves on a daily basis, right? Like when we wake up, okay, the minute we wake up, are we saying to ourselves, oh God, I know I'm not going to have a great day? Or are we saying, okay, this is what I want to achieve for this day, and I may not feel 100%, but I'm going to tell myself what I want to accomplish. Your brain is always listening. So because your brain is always listening, it listens to every single thing that you tell your brain. Your brain is as smart as it's supposed to be. It's not that smart. Let me tell you why it's not that smart. Because it cannot tell the difference between a lie and a truth. So if I can tell myself, if I'm not feeling well, and I can tell my brain, I feel great, and my brain does not know that I don't really feel great, why wouldn't I not want to tell my brain that I feel great? Because
Exactly.
when I tell my brain that, it then impacts the rest of my being, right? So that's one of the things that I really want us to also keep in mind on about our mindset, right? Or what the messaging that we're telling ourselves on a daily basis, and just do keeping in mind that our mind is constantly listening. Just like, think about it, guys. If you have a room and the room is cluttered, and then one day you decide to clear that room out, suddenly you realize that your creativity is up and you feel more light and you feel more airy. Why? Because your brain has less things to now focus on. It can focus on exactly what is in front of you to actually let you accomplish that goal. So I just wanted to just drop that little nugget about the real importance of our messaging to our brain. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for Deandra for saying that also. Okay, so there's also how do we keep a positive mindset with so much going on in the world and our daily lives? You know what? It's not necessarily a one track plan. Is a combination of things. But before I speak, since I've been speaking for a minute, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give that over to B Jacqueline, and just to hear from her as the transformational
you have to know. I think that it's a great question, because a lot of times when we renew our mind daily, I think Deandra, you said that before, and sometimes we renew our mind minute by minute. So when you turn on the television, it's something happening every time. And I read an article years ago, it had to be like at least, I don't know, about 15 or so. And it talked about how at that time, before the World Wide Web, which is now the internet, so I'm dating myself, but it gives you an idea of how like, the advent of how technology has advanced, is that we had about 10,000 stimuli coming at us each day. So think about that now. And like when we're sitting here in the last few minutes, my phone has been buzzing off the chain from Facebook notifications. That doesn't include Instagram, doesn't include Twitter, it doesn't include news, it doesn't include text messages, it doesn't include any of that. And think about how many stimuli we have each day or within an hour span. So you have to get to a point and be intentional about protecting your quiet space. And the other key thing is knowing your triggers. What's going to trigger you to, with everything going on? I had to stop, initially when coronavirus, started, you want to know what's going on. What is this? Where's it happening? What's happening in New York? And is it coming here? I'm in North Carolina and it's here. It's everywhere. But at one point I had to say, no more. I cannot keep turning on the news. I knew my trigger. My trigger was I was hearing too much negativity. And even though my mind could not decipher between negativity and positivity, my body could. So my eating is off. I'm eating Cheetos instead of salad. So
Right.
a lot of times that comfort food is to deal with a trigger that's happened. And so when we have that, keeping that positive mindset is really kind of stepping back from the situation and looking at all this chaos is happening. But where has God done things in the past when there's been chaos, and how did it turn out? I was talking to a client a couple of weeks ago, and they were like in a frantic anxiety mode. And they're like, and I'm like, it's almost I have to kind of do a virtual shaking and say, just get it together for a minute. Because I'm a very direct coach and a very direct person. Get it together, take a deep breath, and track where you've had worse conditions that happen in your life and how you are standing here today. What did you learn from those situations that you can apply today? So we have to be intentional about protecting our mind. Everything that comes to us, we don't have to receive it. So you can protect your mind gate and your eye gate, because if you don't, then you will be in a corner, rocking back and forth somewhere, and you will be depressed and you will be in anxiety. I can say that I started getting very anxious because I'm a scientist by career. And so I'm looking at this, okay, this is probably mutated. They don't know what's happening. We know this coronavirus, they can't pinpoint. And I started getting a little shaky. The encouragement ambassador needed some encouragement. And I had to say, wait, that's a trigger. I got to step back and turn off the television, stop listening to conspiracy theorists and so like that, and just know, Lord, calm me, give me the peace that I know that you give me your peace and not mine, and help me to see and stay focused and track back. I had to do cathartic journaling. I had to, sit down and just write down how I was feeling. You type that email that you want to say something to somebody who sent you something crazy, then you delete it. I did a lot of that where I had to get it off of me. So the key thing is getting it off of you in a constructive manner. Because if you don't, it will put you, have you off kilter.
Jacqueline, I want to interject right there, right? Because I saw a direct question to me too, and some of the things that you've just spoken about are also some of the things that I've done. But just to answer the question directly, so let me just give you a list of what pops in my head of some of the things that I do. One, as you said, I do know my triggers, right? So in knowing my triggers, I was able to then, okay, nope, that's triggers coming. I don't have to receive it. The other thing also is social media. There are times when you just need to just shut off from it. And your notifications that you're talking about, I'm good at shutting that down. I'll just shut you down, right? I just do not, right? So that was one of the things. And then the other thing too is that you spoke about receiving things. So I just want us to pause at that moment for a minute, just so I can really answer the question, because that's one of the things that I do. You can look at me right now and you can say, Judy-Ann, you're just, I don't know, annoying or something, right? Or you can say, oh, you are hideous looking. Whatever it is that somebody said to you that is not the most nice thing or the most positive thing about you. You don't have to receive that. In that moment, that's that person's problem. That's that person's opinion. It has nothing to do with you.
Nope.
So you know who you are and you know what you're made of. So you don't have to receive whatever that person have just said to you. You can literally say to the person, I do not receive that. It is yours. And you shut it down. So it's easier said than done in some instances. Why you literally say the words, I do not receive that. And the reason why you say that is because, one, it's going to shock the person when you said that to them. Right? Right? It's going to shock them. Exactly. And that's one of the ways you make it easier for you. You literally tell the person, you know what? I do not receive that. That is your problem. I'm leaving it with you. Have a nice day. Right? So those are some of the things, and I'm very good at doing that, right? So those are some of the things that I do. So as I said, one, I know my triggers. Two, I know easily to tell you I don't receive what you've just said to me. I watch myself with social media. The other thing that I also do is that I'm big on my morning routine. In my morning routine, I do not look at not one social media, not one text, not one WhatsApp, whatever. Nothing gets done before my meditation.
Exactly.
Right? Because it puts me in the appropriate frame of mind where I can now, relax myself, be grateful. So I also wake up with a spirit of gratitude every morning. That's the first thing out of my mouth. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. I woke up. Not only did I wake up, but I woke up in my right mind, because that is key, right?
That's key.
Right? So those are some of the things that I do. And then I do my meditation. And that helps me through. And when I choose my Bible verses and my Bible scriptures that I choose them sometimes. Some of the things that I post, it's actually quite biblical and people don't realize that, right? Because what I do, I'm telling you my little tricks of my social media posting, right? Is that it serves twofolds, right? One, it gives me content to post, right? Right?
Yep.
Hope, leadership, whatever. If you go to your Bible apps, there's always going to be an app on hope, confidence, leadership, right? So a lot of the times, I'm actually getting my ideas while I'm meditating and settling my spirit, but I'm also getting social media content based on the scriptures that I've read. I just don't put, it's coming from Psalm 20, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That's what I do, right? So I don't know if that helps you a little bit. So I spoke about my morning routine. I spoke about not receiving the negativity that comes into you. I spoke about moderating how much social media you digest. Also being comfortable scrolling by. You don't have to answer everything, comment on everything. You don't have to say anything, just scroll on by. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, leave some things right where they are and not receiving things. And as and the other thing, as I said earlier, is being able to speak to your mindset in terms of speak the positive things and know that your brain is listening. So if you can say the negative things, you can also say the positive things. So hopefully that helps you in terms of answering that question. Deandra?
I think, Julianne, you said something very key with that about, I don't receive that. And we can say it to people, but one of the key people we need to say that to is ourselves. So a lot of times we have that player in our head. Somebody says something to you when you were 9 and you see it goes with the triggers. You see something that needs like a glimpse of that someone else is acting, but it's not the person. It's actually something with us. And we have to learn how to, our mind have these imprints. And I think later on, I'll talk about this a little bit, but I'll say it now. It's okay to have that outlet. You need a sounding board, but guess what? Your sounding board needs a sounding board too. So get a therapist. And therapy does not mean you have mental illness. It just means that you're trying to protect your mental illness. Remember, go after those synapses we have probably 1 million of them a day now because everyone's coming at you. When I was in another corporate America assignment, we went to open floor plan. There were no walls. I would be sitting beside my VP. He didn't have an office. So you had so many, stimuli. Everybody's looking at you or coming by, just talking about your desk or just so many things moving. And you were tired when you went home because you've been overstimulated. And a lot of times we don't step back and have that quiet time to just, God, and like you said, it has to be, for me, it has to be in the middle of the morning, the beginning of the morning. If I try to do anything before that, it ain't a good day to contact me about stuff because it's not going to end well because I can tell when something's irritating me really bad. I'm like, did I not meditate this morning? Oh, wait, and I didn't. I can tell. And so the key thing about it is to stop the replaying the negativity to our mind. I was in this group before, this detox group, and it said it takes 21 positive thoughts to negate one negative. Right. So if your mind is telling you, it goes to the mindset and it goes back to self-esteem. If your mind is telling you you're fat, people with anorexia think they're fat and they're really skin and bones because their mind is told that. So they see that.
Right there. Let's pause right there because what you just said, that tells you how powerful the mind is. Can you imagine you're suffering from anorexia, but you think you're fat? So it just tells you just how powerful the mind is. And it tells you why it is so important to guard your mind and guard what is coming into it. Right. So hopefully that has given you some good, responses. So Dr. Carla Cook said that quiet time and periods of stillness is so important for healthy functioning. Absolutely. And that's basically some of the things that we've been saying, about this. So hopefully, guys, that has helped you a bit in terms of our transparency and then, just some actual techniques that's actually utilized. So what I want to do a little bit now, since we've spoken a little bit, we defined hope, we spoke about confidence, and obviously we understand that there's some interlacing of faith that goes on there. And we spoke about our mindset, right? So because we need all of that to be in place first before we can even dive into some of the tangible day-to-day things that we want to accomplish, whether it be from a career perspective or if you're a business owner, whatever it is that you are doing, that you have to set up. So before, what we've just done is set up the whole framework for now. How can then we now go forward and put the strategy in place, right? So let's talk about B Jacqueline. She does work with, a lot of corporate women, and so do I. So one of the things that I want to ask is women, and we're women of color, so obviously it can't happen to women in general, but I'm going to ask the question a little bit more towards the women of color, especially because the environment that we're experiencing right now. So historically, we've been at the bottom of the professional ladder when we think about the bigger picture, right? In a lot of instances, right? And for those of us we've really had to really claw our way up, right? In a lot of instances, right? It's just not as easy as it may be for others, right? So what usually happens is that, when it impacts us for a pay grade, it impacts us in terms of promotions, executive position, etc., right? So how can we really continue to be optimistic and hopeful, especially going into the new economy where quarantine has caused a lot of job layoffs, and the people who are left on the job, quite frankly, they're acting as if to say, let me just fight to stay alive. You know what I mean? That's kind of the environment in a lot of corporations that's going on. So how would you say that people can remain hopeful, whether it's white collar or blue collar?
I think that for me, it goes back to knowing your self-worth and not being tied to a role or position, and let that give you your identity in that.
Right.
I think a lot of times we feel that, and I've been there in corporate America for forever, where I've seen Susie get a promotion and she doesn't have a third of the experience and whatnot that I have.
Right.
And then I'm having to go an extra year before I get to possibly that same level. And so, and I took it kind of more personally, like, I must not be good enough. Again, replaying those things in your head. But I had to step back and say, I think it was my nephew and I were talking. He was like, you can't let that. It's not that you're not good enough. It's just that they haven't recognized that. Right. So I think there's a lot of things that kind of pan into that. To remain optimistic, though, is to knowing what you bring to the table. And in some cases, you have to decide whether or not, is this the table I need to be at, or do I need to go to another table or create my own? By design, we're very intelligent and genius, entrepreneurial, creative people, because whereas I'm not on the back to Africa, theorist that we should all go back to Africa. I do believe that our lineage is in kings and queens. And so, again, knowing who you are, confidently knowing who you are. I'm a descendant of a king and a queen. So when I think about certain things, it didn't, I'll go back again to the Bible. When Jesus came, he said he was a king of Jews. They laughed at him. They're like, you're a son of a carpenter. And so, but he knew who he was. So I think the key thing is knowing who you are and deciding if that role or where you are is the best place for you. That's somewhere you need to be. Then you need to be vocal in a constructive and in a protected manner. When I say protected manner, this is what I mean. Historically, we as Black women, I had a great idea and brought it forth in a meeting or had a discussion in a meeting. It may sound aggressive, but if my counterpart says the same thing, they'll look at it as being, oh, that's a great idea. This is fantastic. It's great that you brought it to us. So we have to be a lot of times look more muted in our delivery and more cognizant of how it comes across. And that's unfortunate, but it's realistic because we don't know otherwise. It's just the nature of the engine that we're in. And so I think that not giving your power and identity away to a corporation to decide whether or not that you can move the ladder or not. But sometimes you need to create your own table, create your own ladder, and create your own piece. And that's what basically I'm doing. So in a lot of ways, I went through a major reorganization a couple of years ago. And my plan, as well as others, was going to be to retire from this company. But it didn't happen. And so I felt like I was starting over. And when I did a lot of interviews and I saw people who I knew, again, were not as qualified as I am, and those jobs, getting interviews and getting jobs like that, I thought, what is it? But I knew that was also, I think there's a question later, it was an indication that God was shifting me.
So let's talk about, let's pause right there and talk about your shifting, right? Because you said a lot of great things there. So I want to separate them, right? In terms of knowing when you're being shifted, right? So whether or not you believe in God, you believe in energy, whatever it is, the point is to know when you're being shifted, or should I invest any more time in that role if I keep seeing, these people who are, quite frankly, most times not as qualified as you are. And the reason I feel comfortable and bold enough saying that, because usually as African Americans, we have to work a bit harder. We have to be more qualified in order to just get the basic things that others get. So that is just our reality, right? So you also spoke about knowing how to communicate so it doesn't come across in others, in their minds, as aggressive. As you said, somebody can say the identical thing that you've just said, same words, and it's probably a little bit more, spice. But for whatever reason, they may be seen as assertive, but us as Black women, we tend to be more seen as, aggressive. That is our reality. So because that is our reality, we have choices. We can fight a never-ending battle, or we can say, all right, I'm going to be smart, right? I want to get a seat at that table. In order for me to get the seat at the table, no, I'm not selling my soul. What I am doing, I'm being strategic in, okay, I'm going to modify how I say certain things. Or if somebody just said, because I've been in meetings where I said the exact thing, and then this white male, said exactly what I just said, and he's getting credit for my idea. Now, I've been smart. Rather than sit there and pout and get upset, you know what I did? You know what? Thank you so much for restating my idea so much better than I did. I am so grateful. Thank you. Right? So that made everybody aware. Oh, yeah, that's what Julianne just said. Right? So rather than being upset and sitting there quietly and pouting and have him take credit for my idea, I thank him for restating it even clearer than I could possibly have, right? So I just noticed that there was a strategy that I just utilized. I didn't get upset, even though I was, right? Be real, right? I didn't show it outwardly. I strategically, in that moment, planned and executed. So that's some of the reasons even that comment in the morning, that's some of the things that it can do for you. It can allow you to, in the moment, right? So part of one of the course that I teach, which is called Activate Your Destiny, it deals with emotional regulation, right? So emotional regulation speaks to how do I respond for a positive outcome in that moment, right? So that's one of the key components of emotional regulation, right? So so I just love the fact that you spoke about that. Then the other part that you said, the other part that you also said is going back to the shift, right? Knowing, is it really time for me to move somewhere else? Or the other part that we can't also overlook, because we're also humans and we're human beings and we're subject to, errors in our perception of our own self. Do literally a re-examination of yourself. Take a look. If I wanted to get to a director level or a VP level or AVP level, take a look at the company's description of what are some of the soft skills, right, that you must have. Because a lot of times you may have the hard skills, but it's the soft skills that you do not have that every time. Okay. So you have to look at those things. So it's not just to say, well, possibly because of, a lack of inclusion or, things like that. Those are real, but we also have to look at ourselves to do a self-examination and assessment of our skills, hard and soft. And then if we recognize that, you know what, I'm good in all those areas, right? And we have that mentor that will tell us the truth, or we have that coach that will tell us the truth. And we recognize that, that's when we now move into the area of shifted accordingly. All right. So hopefully,
and that's perfect, as you said, because I'll give a quote. My dad, I call it a quote. It was just something he said. He always had these little things he popped out. I remember him talking to someone. I remember him talking to someone. Of course, I wasn't in the room. I was listening on the outside, but he said this person, they were talking about something, and He says, do you have 15 years of experience, or do you have 1 year of experience you've been doing for 15 years? So a lot of times,
B Jacqueline Jeter, I'm telling you right now, I want you to, I really do. I love his wisdom. And that's one of the reasons, like the elder, like near and dear to my heart anyway. But one of the reasons why they're so near and dear to my heart is because they come with some of the smartest things. And you sit there like, oh.
Right, yeah. Do you have 15 years of experience, or do you have 1 year of experience you've been doing for 15 years? Brilliant. And that is something that has resonated with me, and it came back to me in my own experience. If you still in this, make sure you put down Robert L. Jeter Sr.
So Denisha Miller.
Attribute that to my father, because he was phenomenal at those things.
But I'm telling you, I'm going to give your father credit the first time, and the next time I'm stealing it. If I'm right, so say your father's name again, please.
Robert L. Jeter Sr.
Okay, so guys, you're here, but I love it.
But he was, but he was basically saying, so I went through a situation before I looked at this other corporation, before they did a reorganization. And you asked it, and it kind of dovetails into another question you asked me about what are the signs and the cues. I get when I've moved from one area to another in a corporation. I was at this corporation for so long. I felt unsettling. I was dreading doing the job. I was dreading doing this, and I just felt like this ain't where I'm supposed to be. I mean, I like it, but it's not the best. And so I kept feeling that unsettling. So these opportunities start coming up in the company that I applied for, and I was moving to other roles, and I was more than qualified for. And then, but they kept like, we like you, but there's always that bougie but, however. That's why I call it the bougie but. And so what happened was I applied for a role in a group that a smart idea I'd had years before was the basis for the expansion and it was only one person in that group before. Then they actually made a stable group where it took on all the activities that we were kind of doing. And so when that came up, my manager was even like, yeah, we're going to start backfilling your position because we know you had this role. So I went through everything. And when I talked to the hiring manager, she's like, oh, well, you'll get a note today. We're so glad because you have to solve an issue, and your interview was like solving a problem. So I solved the problem, and I gave feedback on some of the other ones. And so the end point of that was, we had, it was a great interview with you. You solved this problem we've had for a long time, and yada, yada, yada. She says, however, we're going to go with Jane. Her name was Jane for real. We're going to go with Jane. And I thought, wait, what? I got a little indignant. I was like, you're not good. I created y'all. That's how I felt. And so, and I said, can you give me some feedback on how, what's different, how I would have done something better, blah, blah. She said, well, you solved one of the issues we've had for a long time, but there was 2 other issues that you gave a lot of input into, but Jane was able to bring more solution to those. Oh. And then I heard my father in my ear. Do you have 15 years of experience, or do you have 1 year of experience? You've been doing 15 years. Because I knew that old problem, and I was kind of applying some of the same learnings to these new problems, and it wasn't working. And that's why I didn't get the role. So a lot of times, what you said opened up a whole thing. You got to know when to hold them, when to fold them. You got to know when this is me, this ain't the system. The system's there. Yes, it is. Nothing much you can really do about it except continue trying to chip away and have the impact. But first, take that introspection and say, what skill sets, what strengths? Know thyself. Know your worth. And it may be that you're in a good space, but it's not a good fit. I interviewed a lot before I got the role I have now. And other jobs were like sparkling and beautiful. But then it was like, something's off. It wasn't a good fit. So maybe it's not a good fit anymore. It's like those jeans that look cute, but they still have a good fit, so. Yeah, don't
talk about that, right? During quarantine, that's going to be a whole lot of issues, right? There's a whole lot of jeans not fitting right about now. So yes. Okay. All right. So, so one of the things that I also want to share with you, you said, you have to know your worth. You have to know yourself. You have to know, have that self-esteem. That of course leads into the confidence. And one of the things that it's listed on the top of this live, where I have a link where it's a 14-day gratitude challenge. And one of the reasons, if you notice, usually most of my lives, there's always something that you can get to work on that would help you. Now, you may say to yourself, and a lot of you have asked about the mindset, right? So mindset, when you are thankful, a thankful heart and a thankful mindset helps you to erode toxic emotions, right?
Yes.
So because it does that, I am also offering you guys is at the top. The link is there. I'll also drop it here, but the link is also there where you can grab onto that. And you're welcome to join me with that 14-day challenge. So that's the link there, which is basically the bit.ly link, 14 days of gratefulness. But again, the link is at the top of this live, the actual live link. So feel free to grab a hold of that and, start the challenge. So it will help you with those of you that asked about your mindset, that asked you about how do I remain hopeful in a time like now. One of the key things to remain hopeful is to apply gratitude. Because as I said, gratitude helps us to release and eradicate those negative emotions, right? That's just one of the tools in our goodie bags that we can offer to you, right? And then also, I'm sure as we go through, B Jacqueline would also have other things that she could offer to you too. All right, so let's also move now into, you started it a bit, right? So let's talk about those cues. You have a woman that's sitting in a job, in an environment that, as you said, she's experiencing these different issues. What are some of the cues that a woman can begin to consider when it is time, the right time to transition into that new position, career, new business, whatever it is that she needs to do?
Usually when I had direct reports, one of the things I would tell them is that when they're aspiring to the next level, they always tell you need to be doing it. So if you're already encompassing that next level, I would say, make sure you document that. Document how, when you go to your manager or go to whoever, because you really need to ask. Don't assume that because you've been in a role for 3 years that they're going to say, oh, it's time to promote you. It's not going to happen, because that's just more money, more whatever. And so they're not going to keep their bottom line as cute, as stable as possible. So you have to be vocal and be your own champion about doing that. And the way you do that is to show, this is the role is calling for. I'm already performing 75% of this. And so I know, and then just, you have to almost sell yourself in the sense of, we have to remember that we are as an employee of a corporation, you're the key asset, because without you, they can't sell anything, they can't develop anything, they can't do whatever. So you're a key asset. So sell that key asset-ism that you have.
Right. But you pause right there for me, because I with direct reports too, I often find out too that people do not realize that this is a contractual agreement and that you have worth and you have value. Without your good work, the company will not be a success. So when you understand that, you will understand the value that you bring towards that company. So you don't really have to sit there and suffer in a toxic environment, because you're realizing this is a two-way street. They hired me and it's a contract for me to do, excellent work, because I believe in excellence, right? And my excellence will feed towards their objective, their goal as a company. If you ever know, most good firms, the objectives comes all the way from the top and it trickles down at different levels. So it's almost like a descending pattern, right? So it comes down in a descending mode. And then when you do the different specific actions to work towards that particular objective, it's now going up. What's going up? You're allowing the company to meet their goals, right? So you have value, right? So always make sure that if you think about it that way, it will also help your hope, your confidence, your self-esteem, and knowing what you bring to the table. People often like to talk about what I bring to the table from a personal, intimate relationship, but you need to also say, what do I bring to the company's table?
Yeah.
You understand? And
because they're focused on the bottom line. And if you're not adding to that bottom line,
they cannot get to that bottom line. And when I say without you, I mean the collective you, they cannot get to the bottom line. So I just wanted to, hone that in a little bit more so people understand their value. So thank you for saying that, B Jacqueline.
No, that's great, because you're right. Because when we went through that reorganization, the first thing was like, this is not a personal thing. This is a business decision. Exactly. And it wasn't like a few of us. It was thousands of us. And so it wasn't, and we've been there for 20 plus years. So it wasn't personal. So you have to know your value, because people, after that's when my coaching business actually was born, so to speak, because people came to me for that kind of, plan and getting to the nitty gritty of stuff. And I'm like, I ain't got to plan myself, so but God actually, developed that and he moved forward with that. So knowing your value, and sometimes it takes someone, you got to have a good mentor and a good coach that helps you to see that. A lot of times we go through life, especially as women, because we do carry a lot of things. We wear a lot of hats. We carry a lot of bags. I think Erykah Badu had a song called Bag Lady. Somebody had a song called Bag Lady. And it talked about how many bags we carry. And you think about this. When we try to really renew our mind and refresh and get into a space of refreshment where we're at our peak of excellence, if we're not doing those things at daily meditation, really understanding and keying in on our strengths and our skill sets and what things, tooting our own horn and not feeling bad about it, taking a day off and not feeling bad about it, doing those self-care things that are key to us and not feeling bad about it. When we don't do that, it's like coming in from the day, taking off maybe your eyelashes, maybe your lipstick, going to bed, getting up, you've had a full face of makeup, getting up the next day and putting on more makeup. And each day you're just layering on more and more and more. And there's going to be a breakout on your face if you do that, physically, but there's also a breakout in your spirit in the way you move around the earth if you do that in a spiritual and a mindset space. So you really have to know yourself. Confidence is about knowing yourself. Hope is about knowing yourself. And those cues are when you feel, mine were when I felt frustrated or I felt like something's just not, it's like square peg round hole kind of feeling. Like I'm not linking, I'm not connecting with people anymore. And I felt like I'm almost, not that I was outgrowing them, but I was outgrowing them.
Right.
So if you're not able to, when you feel you're not able to influence and exercise the skills and the strength you possess in that space, that's a big cue for you that it's not a good fit anymore. And that's not where you're supposed to be.
Right. Okay. So now in the interest of time, because as usual, right, when the conversation is so good, that hour goes like that.
Oh my gosh, it is. Right.
Exactly. I've tried to keep these things shorter and it just don't work because the information is just so juicy and so good, which is a great problem to have, by the way. Yes. All right. So just if we can just summarize that. So you basically, you're looking at say, okay, to use the example what you gave, like with the other lady that got promoted, she was able to solve the now problem, right? Not the old problem. So the message that I got there is that reassess your skills and look at what are the projects that you currently working on? Are you working on the projects that are of interest to your company, right? Because if you're working on something that doesn't matter to them, it doesn't really matter, right? And you're basically making yourself, you're an obsolete model, right? Or at least the work that you're doing is obsolete, right? So take a look and reassess what are the projects that are key to the company moving forward. What are the projects that matters to the company in that moment? And the reason why I say in that moment, because we know it shifts and it moves all the time, right? So because of that, you try to be abreast and, go to your management. Hey, what are things that you guys are really focusing on right now? What is the main problem that you have? And then in you getting that information, you can then say, okay, I want to volunteer for this. I want to do that versus something that is meaningless to that, because it will obviously impact your promotion. Now, if you're not able to get that information, maybe a point where you decide it's time for you to shift because now the information is not being shared with you, so you can't do what you need to do. Alrighty, so because I'm trying to see since the interval of time, we won't have time for all the questions, but we spoke about some of the warning signs already.
Right? Cheat list of tips or something like that, or those last two.
Yeah, let's go there. Because I love to give the listening audience things to tinker with afterwards.
Yeah. So
the question basically is, okay, so what would be, your top cheat sheet list of things of developing, maintaining confidence and courage to transform and grow?
Well, I'll do my shameless plug now. And that is to have a network or Facebook group called Grow, Lead, and Prosper Network. And where I do there is I give tools to navigate this space, as well as in the next week, I'll have these growth spurt sessions that'll begin. And that's all free. You just have to just join the group and I'll, approve you to come in. But it's called Grow, Lead, and Prosper Network.
Right. But we can have a link in the comments afterwards too for people who want to join.
But seriously, it depends on the person. So for me, it's mirror talk. We talked about this a little bit before.
Right.
For others, it's affirmations and declarations. Still, some is journaling. Some people do cathartic journaling where they get those pieces and they really rehearse those things. I mean, even the Word of God tells us that faith come by hearing, and hearing the Word of God. So, what are you putting in your ear gate? But one thing I do is set before is to get a good therapist or a good coach, because that can be your true mirror to help you understand and unpack some things about that you're going through, and that helps to maintain, and it gives you that permission to be awesome. It gives you that permission to be excellent. So a lot of times we think, oh, they may think like I'm being cocky or whatever. You're being confident because
Right.
there's something special and unique about you, because God said He fearfully and wonderfully made us. There's something special and unique about each one of us, and somebody has what you have. Somebody has what needs what Judy has. Somebody needs what I have, and it may not all be the same because we all bring a different special sauce to the situation. So celebrate yourself in that. Allow yourself to be excellent, and allow yourself to show up. You know, like you were supposed to. You come from kings and queens, so show up that way. Like I said, it's going to be different for other people, but my key thing are really that mirror talk and affirmations. Because when you're in the mirror and you're talking to yourself, don't side glance and say, you know, I'm bad, I'm an awesome person. Look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, girl, you awesome. Why you're awesome? Because of A, B, C, and D.
I'm with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
You have to set the stage for that, because your brain will start to take that in, and it'll start to imprint that over all the negative stuff you heard before that said you weren't good enough, you're too old, you're this, you're that. You're like, I ain't too old. I'm just seasoned and I have more experience to not make the crazy mistakes I did before. You have to flip the script every time, because those negative thoughts are going to come. So learn how to do I'm rubber, you're glue type thing, and say, I'm not receiving it. and that's the key thing. So when we unpack stuff, it's good. We have to unpack, and we don't do that well as African American women. We don't unpack things. We think that it's people are going to see us in a bad sense, but it's okay to unpack, and it's also okay to own your brilliance.
Right. And as a matter of fact, I want to, since we like action takers here, so just what B Jacqueline just said, I want you guys who are listening right now, light up the comments, right? And go ahead and say, I'm brilliant, right? Own your stuff. Whatever it is that I am is for you. I would love for you guys to go ahead and drop in those comments right now, and I'll try to bring them up on the screen accordingly. So I see one here, one say, I am awesome. All right. And she sure is. And so guys, I really want you to go ahead and light the screen up and tell me, what are you, am I what? And so everybody's I am may be different, right? I'm beautiful, I'm dynamic, whatever it is, I'm awesome, whatever works for you. So go ahead and light that up and, say what you are. And for those of you who may have missed the first portion, we are actually talking about all right. So I am royalty. I am loving it. Absolutely. We are royalty by all means, right?
Yes.
So, yes. And then I am unstoppable. There we go. I'm loving every moment of it, guys. So keep it coming, right? So we wanted, as I see them, I'll try to pop them in on the screen for you there. But thank you so much. But so hopefully now we're coming towards the end. So we're going to wrap this up. But again, guys, so the topic that we discussed with B Jacqueline Jeter, who is the Transformational Growth Strategist and Encouragement Ambassador, was hope is the foundation of sustained success. So I hope, based on what we have just shared, that you realize why we say that hope is the foundation for sustained success. Because the truth is, without hope, you're not going to have the confidence. And if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to even have the faith to be able to, to put in those strategic plans together, as well as to, just be successful. So I hope we've made the case for the title of this live as to why hope is basically the foundation of our sustained success. If I could, those CCs and the SS's always trip me up. But guess what? I'm confident that I'm going to get that word out. But anyway, and also I just want to remind you, as I said, the freebie that I had on the top of this live, which is basically a 14-day challenge, gratitude challenge. It's a tool. Listen, guys, come on. As I said, gratitude is one of the perfect ways to get rid of those toxic emotions, right? So I love this one that's coming up here. I am a badass. Absolutely. I am. I love it, right? So It says, I am the dream. I'm loving that. I am fearless. Okay. And also, I'm showing B Jacqueline the link for her group there, guys. So if you want to go ahead and join. So let me tell you one of the great ways that B Jacqueline and I can work in a conjunction is that I work on helping you develop or rebuild your hope and re-strengthen your confidence, and then position you so you can also go forward in being, that transformation with B Jacqueline Jeter also. So as you can see, the alignment, and it's a journey, right? So we take a journey. I also do have a group which is called Women Who Rise in Hope and Confidence. So if you would love to join that group, you're welcome to do that also. And if that is in the group, I'm going to be doing the 14-day gratitude challenge. Or those are some of the things that we offer within the group, whether it be challenges, different nuggets, workbooks, etc. So definitely feel free to go ahead there. So guys, we hope you have found it useful. Again, my name is Julianne Chung. I am your Brilliance Activator. I am your confidence, leadership, and life coach and speaker that helps you to rebuild your hope, strengthen your confidence, activate your brilliance, and ultimately soar. And I have been speaking with B Jacqueline Jeter, a transformational growth strategist and encouragement ambassador. And we spoke on hope, this foundation for sustained success. Hope you found it useful, and thank you so much. Go enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. I know I'm going to. Take care, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.